Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Zarian. Of course, I'm joined by John Bubb, as I am each and every week. How you doing, John?
Hey, Andrew, what's up?
Nothing much. I am getting ready to leave. I'm going to Mexico in a day and a half.
The horrors of Mexico.
Well, we know what happened last time when I went.
And that's what I'm worried about.
And already, this trip is turning into a nightmare.
You have bad luck traveling for some reason. I don't know if it's just because of you and your obsessions and compulsions.
It's not me. I'm telling you. This time, the one time, it is not me.
Sure. So you're always just going to blame the weather or something else other than you.
Well, I mean, that's one thing I can't control is the weather, right? Apparently, there's a big storm hitting the east coast of the U.S. 2,000 miles. They're saying the storm is spreading. Literally covering the entire East Coast. So I have to go south and then west. So I don't know how this is going to happen and what capacity the storm is going to affect my flight. Because if the accounts are right, there's a good chance I'm not getting off the ground on Sunday. They're actually calling for 40-mile-an-hour winds with gusts up to 60-mile-an-hour.
Just leave a day early.
You know what's screwed up? I can't even do that. American wants to charge me an upgrade fee plus a cancellation fee.
Of course they do. They got to make money.
Yeah. So I'll keep you guys posted on what the situation is. It is not looking so good right now. So hopefully I'm crossing my fingers. I'm going to be optimistic and things are going to work out for me at the end. I don't know, John. I may not leave.
Well, this is a great segue into one of our first stories, which is Facebook is now going to let you choose what happens to your profile after you die. So, Andrew, let me ask you.
Yeah.
After you die on that plane, what do you want to have happen to your Facebook profile?
I want you to go on there and tweet and post just as if I'm alive. And that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. I'm just letting you know. When I pass, I want you to control my social media, social networking profiles, and just tweet and Facebook the things that I normally would.
So Facebook says that they're going to let you pick a digital executor to run your page as a memorial, or elect to have your profile deleted once it's proven that you've actually passed away. This is kind of a weird thing to actually think about, is what to do with all your digital assets after you die. Like, do you need to appoint a digital executor for like all your profiles? I mean, you obviously have more stuff than just Facebook out there.
Yeah, so that's a great question because I had this a relative of mine passed away a couple months ago, and his wife had no idea how to access anything of his.
Oh,
like she was totally oblivious to what his passwords may be. She couldn't get on his Facebook, his banking stuff. More important investments. She had no idea for the accounts. I mean, because they're physical accounts. Yeah, they're online, but you could actually go to the bank if you know the bank. If you get a statement, you could do something like that. But what do you do with your Gmail? If you've been corresponding with business and you have an important email address and you use Gmail in your day-to-day life when it comes to money and finances, and there's a lot of information in there. Well, yeah, what if you have a password-protected computer?
I mean, can just access your MacBook after you die?
She will probably call you, and then you're probably going to tell her the password. So that
is something strange to think about. Yeah. Is all that stuff that you have on your computer? Because me and you, we still kind of hoard stuff digitally.
Yeah, we do.
We don't always put stuff in the cloud. There's a lot of stuff that's too large to even go in the cloud.
Yeah.
There's all that stuff that we have on our phones. Even if you even extend that to your phone itself, all the stuff that you have on your phone, do you necessarily want people to be looking through your phone?
That's another thing. You know what you need? You need like a third party, someone that you could really trust, like you, for example.
So somebody that you can trust to,
I want you to run the kill switch.
Okay, looking at the stuff that you have and make a decision on whether it should be deleted before anybody else sees it.
I want you to have that kill switch ability
Well,
where
I already do.
the second I die, you hit that one button.
I already have that ability.
You do. I know you do. And the second I die, I want John to press that button and everything is erased and I'm the greatest man ever. People will remember me for something that I am not. No, but it's actually scary. There was a company out there a couple years ago here in New York. I don't know if they ever got off the ground, but this is pretty much what it was, where they had access. It was this. It was like a security company, and a lot of wealthy people have this. They're called security companies, where they have access to all your stuff. And the second you die or there's some tragic thing, they will press the button and it'll all go away. I mean, things like that exist. I mean, that's taking it to an extreme. Most people, 99% of people out there are not doing that. I want to say more like 80% of people don't even need that. But if you are in possession of something, it could be legal, it could be illegal, that you don't want other people to see, how do you prevent that from happening when you die?
Yeah.
It's a really interesting question. And because of the way the internet is, you could essentially live on forever on the internet.
You could.
I mean,
you're going to have that regardless, even if you delete stuff, because you can't delete everything on the internet. That's just not possible.
No, it's impossible. You can't do that at all.
I mean, so you're always going to be somehow on the internet.
I'm okay with that. Are you okay with that? Like, I'm curious on what you think of this. Like, if something were to happen to you, how is anybody going to be able to get into your accounts?
Oh, they won't.
They won't. So they die with you.
They die with me. Everything's going to go away.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I
mean, there'll be stuff on there if you do like Google image search. And
yeah,
stuff.
Eventually, like in 20 years, it'll be like a GeoCity site. You know, it's gonna be one picture of you, one ridiculous photo.
In chat room says it'll be a Wayback Machine.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm really curious of this because,
well, they had those websites where at one point, I don't know if they still exist, where people were posting links to people that died, and they were posting links to their Facebook profiles. You remember those websites, right?
Yeah. I'm just thinking here. Do most people care what happens to their profile after they die, or their online assets?
I don't think most people have thought that far ahead.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, I don't think either one of us have thought that far ahead.
I kind of have. Like, I've always said to myself, okay, if I walk out this door right now and I get hit by a car and I'm dead, what information do I know that Jess doesn't know that'll affect her? Like, does she know the banking information? Does she know my passwords to my email if she needs to get any kind of information from there? Does she know my computer's password? Just my investments, my digital investments. I have like 230 domain names.
Yeah.
My credit cards. What?
Hoarder.
I am a hoarder. So a lot of that stuff, I asked myself, I mean, she has the passwords, obviously, and I've given her I have like the oh shit book. That's what I call it, where everything is handwritten, just in case if the apocalypse were to happen and I lose all my data, I have every account handwritten in this like journal that I keep in a safe. So essentially everything that you need is there when the impending electronic, what is it? What are they called? When the sun is with the solar flares, it's going to blow out all the gadgets.
Solar flare?
I don't know. EPT or EDP or ADT. I don't know. When that happens, at least I have something.
Electromagnetic pulse.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. But it's interesting.
See how Mike in the chat room has a really good suggestion. You can get a living will for your spouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is a really good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see like statistics on this. Like how many people have actually done something about this more than just entertaining the idea of what would they do? How many people have actually set something up like a living will for their spouse or significant other?
Yeah. I'm curious about
how many people actually do something about that?
Yeah. I mean, this
just me. I never really think about that stuff. I just live day to day. I live in the moment.
You live in the moment. You're a reckless man.
I am.
You're a reckless man. Um,
I'm making it rain.
Yeah. Let's talk about the iPhone. And this was an interesting statistic, and I'm curious about this. iPhone 6 Plus users are using twice as much data than the iPhone 6, the regular iPhone 6. This is an interesting stat, and I'm curious on why they're using more data. Does a larger screen size make people want to use their phone more?
Yeah, this comes from the mobile analytics report out from Citrix, and they say that the iPhone 6 Plus, which is the 5.5-inch iPhone, consumes twice as much data as people who own the smaller 4.7-inch iPhone 6, and the iPhone 6 Plus data usage is 10 times higher than the data usage of the 3.5-inch iPhone 3GS.
But okay, so that makes a lot of sense, right? That it wasn't a 4G phone. It was a slower phone. It was an older phone. That makes sense to me. But
right,
that extra inch or less than an inch is making a big deal when it is making an impact with the data usage. Maybe it's because the people that buy
it's very clear, isn't it, that people that are electing for the 5.5-inch iPhone 6 Plus are doing it for the sole purpose of consuming media and internet stuff on there. That's why else would you have a phone that large?
Yeah, I was actually looking at the stats on Jess's phone because she has the iPhone 6 and she had an iPhone 5 prior, to getting this one, and she's using as much, if not maybe a little less data than she ever did. It has not impacted her in any way. She's not using it more or less. I mean, it's right around where she always used it.
I think what it is that the people that have the 6 Plus are enthusiasts.
They're a little bit more, they're more in the know when it comes to stuff.
Yeah, and even the report suggests that it's most likely due to people treating the iPhone 6 Plus more as a tablet than a phone, where they're consuming and streaming media constantly on it.
I'll tell you something,
which is one of the reasons why it was made to be that big.
I'll tell you something. I tend to use my OnePlus more if I go out and I'm taking my OnePlus, or if I'm out and I'm taking my LG. It's rare that I take both of them, but sometimes I do. But if I'm taking one or the other, I'm browsing and I'm doing stuff on my phone more on my OnePlus than I would on my LG. So I guess there is something there. It's a little bit easier to follow what's happening on the screen when it's a larger screen.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think they're going to go bigger? Or that's it for them?
It's Apple. They could just do anything, and they could do it the wrong way, because that's kind of what they've been doing for the past couple of years.
Yeah. I'm curious if they would ever go bigger with their phone.
Both you and I have been in agreement that the size choices that they've made over the past couple of years just have not really been quite what either of us have wanted. From them going from the 3.5-inch to a 4-inch tall screen, like they didn't change the width of it; they only made it taller to make it 4 inches, and then they did new sizes for the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, where they made one that's 4.7 inch. Which is okay, but why didn't they do that when they increased it from 3.5 inch to 4.7 inch? And then they did 5.5 inch, which a lot of people say is just a little bit too big in the form factor that they have for the iPhone 6
Yeah,
Plus.
it's bulky. You know what it is? If it was a 5.2 inch phone, I think that'd be the perfect size.
Exactly. Like, why didn't they do that?
Yeah.
Didn't they do enough, field testing and focus groups with
But
the 6
I think
Plus
you get used to it. You get used to it. My brother has a 6 Plus, and he hated it for the first couple weeks, and now he's like, I couldn't get a smaller phone. After a while, you realize that's what you kind of have, and you get used to it, and you start using it. Jessica didn't want a 6. She thought it was too big. Now she thinks it's perfectly fine.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not saying that the 6 Plus is right for everybody. I mean, the 6 Plus is going to be for those people that really do want something more on the tablet size and want to consume media on their phone, that use their phone a lot. I mean, I'd rather go with the 6 Plus, even though it's not the quite the right size, because in a way, the 4.7 inch to me would be a little bit small It's not a big enough
Yeah.
increase from the 4-inch iPhone 5 that I have now.
For you, it wouldn't be. I think for most people, it is.
Right.
Yeah.
I still think that the iPhone 5 is quite small. I really do. I think a 4-inch phone is small.
It was tiny years ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
4.7 inches is a great size, but I also think just the form factor that they have for the 6.5 inch or the 6 plus 5.5 inch version,
yeah.
there's just something weird about it.
Hey, let's talk about iOS and some of the stories coming out for iOS 9. Reportedly, it's not going to be a major release. It's going to be more of a under-the-hood upgrade rather than a visual upgrade.
Right, and I guess this is coming from sources talking to 9 to 5 Mac.
Yeah, 9 to 5 Mac was
they're going to focus more on fixes for the back end, fixes in the background, and optimization for the performance of the device.
Which is necessary, and a lot of people, when I tweeted this story early in the week, people were writing like, oh, you see Apple's falling behind. Well, no, this is how things work. You don't want to do major shakeups every single time you have a release. Some of these releases are going to be under the hood releases. You got to fix what's broken. There are some problems with iOS 8. Have you noticed any?
Third-party keyboard support still sucks.
It does suck, and that's one of the things that's going to be fixed.
I love third-party keyboards. I love Swipe and Swift Key. My problem is that it doesn't matter what third-party keyboard I use, for whatever reason, every now and then, randomly, I'll get a message, and I'll go to the message, and it'll just completely lock up the Messages app, where I have to force quit the application and restart it in order to access messages.
Yeah, I think you said that on Tuesday when we were talking about this. Apple most likely won't make an announcement.
Still? Why have they not been able to fix that?
Is it Apple or is it the third party? Who's?
I think it's Apple because this is a problem with multiple third-party keyboards. So, in my opinion, if it's happening between more than one third-party keyboard, it's got to be an Apple issue.
Yeah, I've never used a third-party keyboard on. Actually, no, I have Swipe. I have Swipe on my iPad.
I love Swipe.
Yeah, I have it on my iPad. Some of the other issues that people have been saying is that just the sluggishness overall, battery life. They did not do a lot of work for battery life. The battery life is still kind of on these devices, and they're going to work on that. Just overall rebuilding under the hood for iOS 9, and I think that's a positive. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that they're acknowledging it.
I'm hoping they'll still come up with some new features. I'm still waiting for them to let me be able to swipe back and forth between messages while I'm in a message. For example, if I get an iMessage from you and I want to go back into another iMessage that I have previously, like somebody else sends me one, I actually have to go back to the Messages application and select that message instead of actually just being able to swipe between messages.
Can't you? I mean, unless you click on the notification. When it pops up on the notification, you click on that. Yeah.
But I don't understand why I can't just swipe between messages.
I think the biggest problem here for Apple is they're trying to figure out how they're going to do multiple applications, like a multiple window of applications, especially like on an iPad.
Yeah.
It's still a little funky going back and forth. When you leave an application, it actually feels like you're leaving the application. On Android, that's one thing that they've been able to kind of fix. Samsung does it. LG does it, where you kind of have like these floating windows, and then you could just go like that. Apple's gotten a lot better with these. I want to say like true multitasking, but it's very difficult to do that on a phone.
Yeah, I think it makes more sense. I mean, this is something that I think even Microsoft is struggling with Windows 10, and they're doing a decent job of it, but it's something that they're finding out is that even though you're trying to do this universal thing across devices and even mobile devices, it doesn't always necessarily work the same way, whereby you want to have this responsive interface on a tablet, but that same responsive interface on a phone doesn't necessarily work the same way. And I think Paul pointed this out on What the Tech when he was talking about Office 16, whereby Office 16 on a tablet works pretty good. It's decent, but it just doesn't quite work yet on a phone device.
You know what's funny? With Office 16 and a tablet, how often are people going to use Office 16 on a tablet?
It's a good question. I think there are certain people out there that will do that, but it's a very
Like what
small
instance? If
percentage.
what instance? And this is my argument here. Okay, if I'm on the go and I'm using a tablet, right, that and to type up something, the odds are I'm not really a superpower user if I'm typing on glass. I will probably be more likely to use something like Google Docs than Office. It's a real uphill battle for Microsoft when it comes to the future of Office because you have free solutions that are as good for most people. 99% of people using this, it's probably going to be as good for them, and it's going to be free. So how does Microsoft fight that?
If it were me, I'd want some sort of external keyboard. If I'm typing up some sort of document, there's no way I'm doing that on glass. There's just no way.
Yeah, I have a real difficult time typing
You're going to
on
make
glass.
so many mistakes trying to type something down. I mean, Swipe does a very good job, but there's still times where you're having issues when you're trying to do a word certain way, or it's not in the dictionary, and it asks you if you want to do it in a dictionary, or it changes the word on you, and it's good, but it's not perfect. So you're gonna end up making mistakes if you're trying to type out something that's a couple paragraphs.
I witnessed Jessica do something, and I was awed by it. When we were flying home from our last trip, she was writing a curriculum for one of her classes, and I watched this woman type on glass for 3 hours. And she was so natural at it. I mean, she was like, boom, 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 boom. And she wrote like 10 pages. Like the most insane thing ever. I was just awed that a human being is capable of typing on glass like that. I just couldn't believe it. Why anybody? And I'm like, I don't know how you're managing. She's like, well, it works. I'm okay with it. And she's typing on glass. So I could be wrong. It's the future. These kids are never going to use a keyboard. They're going to be typing on glass.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
A little bit, yeah. Why don't you go into another story?
So there was some really big news that a lot of geeks and nerds are excited about this week. Marvel has announced that they've actually pulled Sony and SpiderMan into its cinematic universe, and we'll actually get to see SpiderMan in a couple upcoming Marvel movies, including possibly the new movie Captain America: Civil War, and a standalone Spider-Man movie that's going to be done in 2017.
Yeah, so I mean,
A lot of people are excited about this.
Yeah, I am too, because they're getting ready for Civil War, and that's a great series.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of the Civil War series. The thing about Civil War is there's a lot of other components that they're not going to be able to use. I mean, that universe was so big, they're probably going to bring in a lot of people, but they still don't have X-Men, so they can't really use any of those characters. And the universes kind of don't mesh well. Spider-Man meshes well with them, but X-Men really doesn't.
Can I be honest?
Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't liked any of the Spider-Man movies Sony has done.
None of them.
None of them.
I'm not
any movie that Sony has done, any Spider-Man movie in the last 10 years, including what's that guy's name? From one of the earlier ones. Tobey Maguire or whatever.
Maguire, yeah.
Even those I haven't been a big fan of. And especially the newest ones. Those newest ones are just awful.
I thought it wasn't that bad.
It's the same crap as you see with Transformers and Michael Bay, where it's so overdone, so overproduced.
You like Guardians, didn't you?
Oh, I love Guardians.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like Guardians.
But, I mean, those are two completely different things.
Yeah,
completely different.
It's fascinating. I'm curious on what they're going to do with this, and I hope that they're going to reboot the franchise
I'm
and do something else.
With Marvel in charge of some of the decisions, that they'll make some smarter decisions than Sony has made regarding Spider-Man. A lot of people, though, are kind of disappointed because some of the rumors are that with the standalone flick that's coming out in 2017, it's going to be another reboot, an origin story for Spider-Man, where they're not going to continue any of the stories that they've done in the past, where it's just going to be another origin story of Spider-Man.
Because it's Marvel now, not Sony.
Well, it's still going to be pretty much Sony, with Marvel making some of the decisions.
But here's the problem with this. There's not much you could do
Amy
with
Pascal, the woman that just stepped down from Sony Pictures, is still going to be involved with all of this.
Yeah, so the problem with
what's
this...
really going to change other than Marvel having some level of input and direction in the film.
I mean, for Spider-Man, the big ones that people want to see. I mean, they blew it with Venom. People want to see Carnage. You know, those are good storylines, but it's so difficult to kind of interpret on the big screen. Where I think they're just scared to bring those characters in at this point.
Sure.
So maybe just
I've
constantly
loved
rebooting
most
this.
of the Marvel movies that have been coming out. I mean, like all of those have been almost every single one awesome.
Yeah.
Sony, on the other hand, I don't know that I give a crap about any Sony movie, to be honest. I don't think they've had very many successful, great movies. I mean, even The Interview, that thing was just a pile of crap, honestly.
talking about film and more reports of this. Netflix and Nintendo are reportedly going to make a live-action Zelda. Netflix recently announced it's raising $1.5 billion to fund new content, and one of the rumored projects is a live-action Zelda series. I don't know how well this is going to work.
I'm always skeptical of these things when they say it's going to be live action, because a lot of times what they do now when they say it's going to be live action based on something that's usually animated, they still use quite a number of animated elements in the movie where I don't know that I would say it's live action. For example, the Smurf movies, they say that's live action. To a degree, it's live action, but the Smurfs themselves are animated.
They were animated, yeah.
And I don't consider that live action.
Yeah, so how are they going to do this?
And
I'm
it's
curious
the same
about
thing
this.
with the SpongeBob movie. That SpongeBob movie is called live action, but SpongeBob and all the characters from the SpongeBob universe are animated.
So when I think live
I don't
action, I
consider that
think
live action.
yeah. When I think of live action, I'm thinking
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles circa the 1980s.
1980s. That was live action. Yeah, that was
That
live action.
action. Those were puppets and whatnot.
Yeah, those puppets were terrifying if you think about it.
I love those movies.
Yeah.
To me, that's way better than any of the new turtle movies that they're doing.
Yeah. I'm curious what they're gonna do with this. You know, Nintendo kind of wants to reach out, and there is a Zelda game coming out soon. So I guess they're gonna go based on the success of that game to see how well that game's done. If it's a success, then I definitely see this live action coming. And it's on Netflix. You know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Oh, so that's interesting. So, do you think a Roger Rabbit was a live action?
I think it falls into that same category, but there's a difference, I think, in the sense that that was kind of the purpose of that world where it was supposed to be somewhat animated in that sense.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it had a much better story and just the way they meshed those elements and everything, it was supposed to be animated.
You know, I don't remember what Roger
never
Rabbit.
done that stuff with live action.
I do not remember at all what Roger Rabbit was about. I've seen it like
Roger
1,000
Rabbit
times.
was honestly a very odd movie. It was a great movie, but it was very odd.
Yeah. All right, why don't you go into
I
another
think
one?
It's just one of those things where the success really does depend on the story. Roger Rabbit is one of those stories where you can get away with it being animated.
Yeah. Well, BattleBots is coming back also, right? Did you see that?
BattleBots is something that I used to love to watch. I don't know if you were very interested in BattleBots when
I
it
was,
on.
but they've tried to redo it like a couple times, and it's kind of failed, and there's been like little offsprings
Well,
of what BattleBots is.
Nickelodeon did that one with Macho Man Randy Savage, which was an absolute disaster compared to BattleBots.
Which one was that?
You don't remember the one that Nickelodeon did with Randy Savage?
No, and then there was one with Chris Jericho.
I don't remember that one at all.
Yeah, I don't remember the one with Randy Savage.
Oh, it was awful. It was so. It was a very watered down version of BattleBots.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Like now with the whole maker movement happening, these robots are going to be really sophisticated.
Oh yeah, and now you got also 3D printing.
Yeah.
So I guess it's coming in summer on ABC. I guess they're maybe only doing 8 episodes. But I think it's still very cool that they're even going to do this. Even if it's just for one season, just to see how it goes. That's cool. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of things you could say about the original BattleBots show when it was on with like Tracy Bingham and Bill Dwyer. But
yeah,
there was still a lot of cool stuff regarding it.
Interesting. Why don't you go into a story, John? We'll wrap it up for the day.
All right, let me look at the notes here. So this is kind of cool. Visa is going to follow Apple Pay's lead and use tokens for mobile and online payments. Following Apple's Pay's successful use of tokens, one-time use unique codes rather than credit card numbers for payment transactions, Visa announced today that it will remove 16-digit account numbers for mobile and online payments across 2015. So far, no specific date has been given for the transition. Instead, Visa suggests that tokens will begin to replace credit card numbers as the companies and partners get access to the Visa Token Service program that rolled out alongside Apple Pay in October.
This is actually very good that they're doing this and they're going to a token-based system. I think it's silly to the way that they do it right now, and it's pretty unsecure when it comes to giving your information to vendors. You know, there are services that do this.
Yeah, there are wallets, and I think even MasterCard has a digital wallet type of thing that's similar to this, but not quite.
Why aren't they all incorporating this? This is what is interesting to me. When you're giving that information to a vendor, there's no reason why the vendor should have your credit card information. They should just have a token that authenticates it.
In my opinion, this would cut down on fraud, credit card fraud, and stealing of credit cards dramatically, at least for a number of years until thieves, of course, figure a way out around it.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of inevitable where technology will catch up and it'll be no longer a viable means of security.
Well, no,
that's just the way it is.
Can the token system work for just in physical, I guess, when you just physical vendors instead of digital vendors?
Well, that's the whole point of Apple Pay.
Yeah. Because the token
that's
system.
what they're doing with retailers that accept Apple Pay. They're only getting a token. They're getting that Visa token from your Apple Pay.
Yeah.
It's a very smart system, and it's quite good for security. I know Europe has the chip and pin, which we're still waiting to get here.
Yeah, I'm for the European way that they handle it because it makes the most sense, really.
I agree. I think it's high time that security for credit cards here in America gets a big change because
credit card fraud is gigantic, right? And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's so rampant right now that something needs to be done, and it needs to be done like yesterday.
Well, you hear the stories like Target. Let's say Target got hacked and customer information, 2 million customers' credit card information or whatever, 40 million. This all could be prevented if it was based on a token system. If Visa and MasterCard implemented this and all the vendors had to use this. This is how you take a credit card. That's how it's authenticating at this point, is through a token system. It's very difficult to do that for one reason. A lot of people are not doing digital processing for this. It's not a digital authentication. They're still doing it the old way through, a landline.
Storing all those numbers in a database.
They're storing it, yeah. So,
and you can still use a credit card skimmer.
It's really bad. You can't use a credit card skimmer if you're going to a token system, right? That will not work.
I don't know.
Because it's not grabbing the numbers into.
But
it's not putting
at this point, like, everybody knows somebody, if not themselves, that has had their credit card stolen in some fashion.
Happens to Jess all the time, and she can't.
Happened to me.
Happened to you.
To my parents.
Yeah, happened to you also.
So, obviously, it's widespread enough that new security measures are needed, and they are needed like yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see that Visa is going to be rolling this out to more people and in more systems, retailers.
Yeah. So let's see what happens.
I hope that this is something that, within the next 2 years, by 2016, that this is the way that we do mobile and online payments.
Do you want to hear something bizarre? Explain this to me. And I said this last year, and I'm realizing more and more that this is happening. A lot of places are not accepting Visa.
A lot of people are not accepting American Express either.
That's always been like that because American Express has a higher, interest for what they take out of it. But Con Edison, for example, if I want to call and pay with my debit card, it can't be a Visa. It has to be a MasterCard. So if you have a Chase bank account, you can't call. And a lot of these services are like that. I had to pay something else. It was like a last minute thing. I totally forgot to pay the bill. And just like, oh, just put it on the Chase card. And I listened to it. They don't accept Visa.
Huh.
I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. Maybe Visa changed their rates, or who knows what it is. But it's a weird thing that I'm realizing this is happening. It's weird. I have no idea why. I have no idea. All right, guys. That's it for this week. Quick show on a Friday. We're going to be back next week. I'll be back even more tan than I am right now because I'll be in Mexico.
Oh, boy. That is if you make it back.
If I make it back or if I make it there. We don't know what'll happen due to the weather. But go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. You can catch all our shows archived on our website. If you want to help us out, you want to support us, use our Amazon link, guys. We have an Amazon link on the top of our page at gfqnetwork.com, or you could just simply bookmark gfq.co/Amazon. That's gfq.co/Amazon. Whenever you make a purchase, we get a small little credit from that purchase, and it helps us out whenever we have to do, upgrades here. A lot of stuff breaks, and we got to fix a lot of it. Also, if you want to chip in, you want to tip us anything, you could do that by going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/whatthetech. You can give us anything you want, 25 cents, 50 cents, a nickel. Whatever you want to give, we accept. And you can follow John on Twitter at Suncast. You can follow me at Andrew Zarian, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye for now.